Right, let's see how we go. Let's see how we go. Three, two, one. Here it comes. There he is!
My
And there he
man. What
is!
up? What up, Joe?
Daru Jones, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! This guy's
Oh.
so busy, we had to push this back, and I was like, uh-oh. I was like, is he like, how far, is he like still like driving somewhere? I'm glad you're here. It's great to have you, man. You're a busy cat. You got a lot going on. I appreciate your generosity of your time and the knowledge that you're going to drop for the Brotherhood of Drummers and musicians and anybody who's going to watch this. Anything you want to say to start off with, just to get us going, like hi, bye, whatever's on your mind to get us started today?
Yeah, so big shout out to my brother Tommy Igo. Do your Googles. He's a legend, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, this cat, I remember just when I was in the, getting, when I got hip to all of the jazz drummers, and then, I would get all the VHS tapes and whatever was out. I remember this brother had put something.
That's how old I am, man.
I remember seeing this brother came out with something, and I got it too. And he just had his kit set up was that in your apartment, or like when you did your series?
A couple of them were set up in my basement. Yeah,
it was. Man, Tommy was doing that before they doing it now. Everybody setting up their kit, playing. But Tommy was already ahead of the curve. You know what I'm saying?
Stop, man. Stop.
Yeah. So big shout out to your brother Tommy. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh man, my pleasure. So a lot of people have been really looking forward to this because of there's a couple of things I want to hit with you today. I got you bring some really unique viewpoints that I want to go deep on, or at least a little bit deeper than I've ever heard you talk about before. And I know what's on a lot of people's minds, and I'm going to hit to that too. And also, I want to tell everybody watching right now that you use the cards at the bottom for your questions. Use the question card, and we will get those to Daru as we go along, so make sure that you get your questions answered. But your voice is so unique on this instrument, and what you do is so unique, unlike anybody else.
Oh, man.
I'm just gonna embarrass you 1 second now. Tell a story.
I'm a shy brother.
I was hanging out with Vinny Colaiuta last summer, and one of the first things out of his mouth is, "Hey man, are you hip to Daru?" That was one of the first things that out of Vinny Colaiuta's mouth, and I was just like, "Yeah."
My God.
I said, "Yeah, man, I'm like very heavy into him," and he's just like, "The dude is like what?" The dude's like, So I mean, does it get better than like the heaviest of the heavies? That's one of the first things out of that cat's mouth, man. I was just like, man, that's how you know.
It's such an honor, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I grew up, we all like Vinny disciples, you know what I'm saying? I remember growing up, and when I first got exposed, exposed to him, I came up playing in church, you know what I'm saying? Gospel. I started at 4, and everything outside of gospel at the time was secular, and we were told not to listen to, you know what I'm saying? But I snuck. But I had fast forward the story, I had some older mentors. They put me onto the Buddy Rich Memorial Series, which I would get exposed to Bessinet and Belson and Dennis. And then the second volume really blew my mind, with Gad, Weckl, and Vinny. And I was just like, yo, this cat was so dope. And I wanted to get every project that he was on. So I followed Vinny, through a lot of my early, childhood and teenage years. And I tried to, at that time, I started playing fusion, and I started, as a kid, mimicking my heroes at the time. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to set up my drums. Vinny had the china on the left, so I wanted to do that. But for years, I never forget somebody, I was reading this modern drummer story. I think it was 93. And they had listed all of, some of Vinny's top projects. And I saw everybody's talking about this Joe's Garage, this Frank Zappa project. And I was like, yo, what is this Joe's Garage? And I never forget, I went to Best Buy, I saw it and I got it. And that
keep it greasy.
Keep it greasy. And
21.
it was crazy. It's crazy because I actually went to church trying to play those licks, and my mom was like, son, because my mom played organ, just like, son, what are you doing?
What is
playing these, I was doing these odd times doing a church service. And at that time,
that's a great story.
There was no gospel chops back then. Back then, it was about playing pocket. You know what I'm saying? But just to make a long story short, it's an honor, to have that shelf and Vinny. I never forget his rep or his drum tech dang, I forgot my brother's name. He worked with Vinny, and he has sent Vinny some of my videos, and Vinny, became a fan. I never forget meeting Vinny at the NAMM show with a good mutual friend of ours that he used to play with, his girl bass player that he was playing with, and we just stayed in touch. And Vinny was just like, "Yo, you remind me of how, when we came up, all the drummers had identities." You know what I'm saying? And it reminded me, back in the days, like you can tell, like even with watching, and I know I'm getting kind of long with it, but
No. This is great, man.
You can tell even with watching the Buddy Rich Memorial Series, all those drummers played Yamaha drums at the time. You know what I'm saying? They had similar setups, but you can all tell, of the GAD influence, but they all had their own tuning and their own sound, which, when they started playing on those records, I remember when the Electric Band, Chick Corea came out, and then each of those members, they came out with solo projects. They used the same musicians. And at that time, there was no YouTube. We had to listen to the music and transcribe and figure out who was who. But I remember how I was able to figure out who was playing the drums because of the tuning. I knew that, Weckel had a certain tuning, Vinny had this tuning, and Gad had a dry tuning. So that's how I was, and even Peter Erskine, they all had certain things that gave them my identity. And I knew eventually that's what I wanted to develop, through the years. So big shout out to Big Brother Vinny. And much love to a living legend. Much respect, Vinny. Yep.
Okay, so that's a great story, by the way. All right, so let me set the table for everybody who's joining in on here. So we have hundreds of people are going to see this in real time. Thousands will see it later. The whole idea of this series is that we are going to give actionable content to the people who are watching it, who are looking for it. So no matter where they are in their arc, whether they're a beginner, they're advanced, or aspiring professional, or a professional, we're going to go deep and give people actionable content that's going to affect their lives in a positive way. So now you touched on it briefly. So I want to go through your career arc. Now you started at 4. You're in a church. Your mom was playing organ,
and my dad. They both. My mom and dad play organ. Yeah.
Okay. So take us through that. Like, when did you know this was your calling?
Yeah, it's crazy. That's a really good question. So I was an outcast because, coming up in a church that's Pentecostal, and we were told not to listen to any secular music, and I snuck, being a kid, and but I remember at that time the drummers that I was listening to, drummer by the name of Dana Davis from Detroit, Michigan. He's one of the best at the time, and he's still one of the best to me. And he played with a group called the Winans, one of the biggest gospel groups of all time.
Oh yeah,
what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah. I know
the
that,
Winans. So Dana Davis played with them, and a lot of other. And I remember growing up north, and we would go see Dana. And what fascinated me about Dana was he just had this pocket. You know what I'm saying? And he had showmanship. You know what I'm saying? He would do something flashy, but he would go back to his pocket. So that was a big thing. And one of the things that people recognized me was a special trade was they was like, yo, Daru can hear this and be able to play it. I had a reputation of having a good memory. Like I could hear a drummer do something, and then I can just play it right after it. So I built that reputation until I started hearing the jazz drummers, because that was the story. There was a lot more notes. But anyway, so I started off, and another drummer I was checking out was Michael Williams. He played with a group called Commissioned from Detroit, Michigan, another phenomenal gospel group. And I was into that. And then my mom put me in chart reading lessons when I was in middle school. I would learn, because she wanted me to advance and be able to learn, have that knowledge under my belt. And I'll never forget, on my way when we would check out to pay for the lessons, I would see these magazines, which were the Modern Drummer magazine. I'm like, what's that? And they profile, all of the legendary drummers and their setup, their identity. And I started getting that. And then I remember seeing these drum videos. And my first drum video that my mom bought me was Terry Bozzio solo drums.
Really?
I don't know if you remember that. He had the oil black heads and all of the Chinas and all. I was just like, yo.
Ostinatos, man. It's playing
Ostinatos. And that really cracked my head at the time, because I've never seen so many drums. And it also opened my mind to the drummer being a voice and being melodic, telling stories. And then eventually my older mentors, because I was always a young dude hanging around older guys, you know what I'm saying? So they started putting me on to Tony Williams and, the Live in Tony Williams, New York, and Jack DeJohnette and Omar Keem, everybody that was out at the time, you know what I'm saying? Chambers, Erskine, One of my favorite drummers was Gene Cooper.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
man.
although Buddy was the man, Gene was swaggy, man. This cat
Yeah,
was
and
that
yeah,
showmanship.
talk about identity, right? You know, like he
Yeah,
had a thing. He had the hair flop, and he was like this
yeah.
movie star. Yeah, he got the package.
So that was a part of my imprint, and I thank God that I came up when I did. You know, I know this is a new day with the internet. You're able to do the cheat codes and go to YouTube, but I never. I'm grateful that I came up where I had to figure it out.
Hmm.
I had to figure it out.
Yeah.
It was like listening, and I
Hmm.
really think that helped. That
Yep.
helped, my playing. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I want to be a product of what I saw coming up. All those drummers that I'm naming, they all like Steve Smith. They all had their identities. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And your identity is your kit, the way you set
Right.
up. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? Your tone and your sound.
we're
Yeah.
gonna go we're gonna find out a lot about that in a minute from you because we're gonna go deep on that because
Okay.
I mean you got something that's like that no one else has got. You got really an amazing thing happening, and I
Appreciate
want to
it.
really. I know there's a lot of cats who really want to hear about that, and
Mhm.
we're gonna let you just really give it to us. You know.
Okay.
So,
Just to
but on the
I don't want
way, I'm
just
sorry. Go
real
ahead.
quick, just to fast forward, and as we evolve as drummers, I started getting into jazz drumming. I played that for years as I was doing that thing. And then eventually, at the same time, I was influenced by hip hop. You know what I'm saying? The producers at the
Yeah.
time was RZA from Wu-Tang Clan. You hit the Wu-Tang Clan and like DJ Premier from Gangstar, Pete Rock, and the list goes on. And then I was like, man, it would be amazing to be able to play hip hop live. And the only live hip hop band that I saw at the time was the Roots. Shout out to
Mm.
Amir Questlove. You know what I'm saying? He was,
Mm.
was definitely an influence. The first drummer that I really saw play hip hop live, and then my career escalated. I started becoming a hip hop guy because of a lot of hip hop artists that I was working with. They wanted to tour, do big festivals like Essence and touring overseas, and to do that, you need a live band. I became the hip hop drummer for over a decade, and then eventually, one of the hip hop artists that I worked with, Black Milk from Detroit, Michigan, had an opportunity to go work with Jack White from the White Stripes,
Right.
and that propelled me to graduate from hip hop to rock and roll. Now I'm in hip
Right.
hop, country
Right.
rock and roll, and my
So
career is yeah.
you're a multi-headed beast. There's no doubt about it. You know, you
Thank you.
have you're listen. I was listening actually just before we started. I was going through some of my favorite clips of yours,
Wow.
and there's a couple of that where you were just like playing something. I had never heard you play something like this before. It was like
Wow.
this super slow, like as dirty as you could possibly make it. It was with this ton of space, and it's just like surgically, oh, like so much space in there. It
Oh
was like you needed a watch.
wow.
You needed a watch to tell the difference. You know. So it's just like every time I see you play, I'm always astounded by all these new things I see in your vocabulary. So as you're talking about this, you're just always talking about, and I hope that is really coming through to everybody who's listening. Is that he is a musician, not just a
Mm.
guy who does one. You're a musician.
Mm.
You are so able to go in anywhere. So now there's a lot of
Appreciate it.
young people who are going to be listening to this, and by young I mean in high school and about to
Mhm.
go to somewhere else. So did you go to college, or did you go to a college, or did you go right into the business right from high school? What did you do?
That's a good question. So I went to a community college, up north, but it was because I had an opportunity to work with a steel drum ensemble, and I got a recommendation because my cousin was involved in the band. She's like, "Yo, my cousin is a dope drummer. I think he could add something to what we're doing." And this particular band, we would go perform at PASIC. When you go to PASIC, they have the steel, the percussion ensemble. So I played
Yeah,
with this band, and that's the only reason why I went to that community college. But that's it. Everything I learned by ear. You know what I'm
right.
saying? I didn't really have any type of trainings besides the chart reading. That's it.
Right.
Yep.
So there's
Yep.
kids, there's kids they automatically go to college, and there's a
Hmm.
lot of financial debt that's going on right now, and I'm really anti living in debt. It's so there's stories that go, so they go to a community college. Now, did you finish the community college, or did you stop like I did? I stopped, and
I
then I went into the
stopped.
bit. I stopped and went. So yeah, there's a lot of guys who did. It was
Same
just like,
same thing because
yeah,
my career propelled and I had some other opportunities. An opportunity to work with Phil Solomon. He's from Guyana, but he's one of the top 5 tuners. I don't know if he still have that same, if he's still the top 5th, but his name is Phil Solomon. He tunes and makes steel pan.
Yep.
And he lives in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I got an opportunity to play in his house band, and I relocated there. And that really propelled, my career. You know what I'm saying? Pittsburgh is an amazing scene. You got Poogie Bell, you know what I'm saying? The great Poogie Bell.
Yeah.
Saw Albert Bumpheads, and Poogie is a good friend of mine. James Johnson, David Throckmorton. Are you hip to David Throckmorton?
I know the name, but not the playing so much.
Yeah,
can you say that? Can you say it again? I always so for all the interviews, I always keep a pencil handy, which I recommend everybody do, to write down the knowledge as it comes at me. So can you say that name one more time?
His name is Dave Throckmorton. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name wrong, but Dave, he's such a killer, man. He was a very diverse drummer. And I'm thankful that Pittsburgh, they embraced me. You know what I'm saying? They embraced me. They when you come into a new city, sometimes the old heads, they kind of looking at you like, you ain't bringing no swag, you know what I'm saying? But they really embraced me, and I've been able to do some amazing things in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's like, that's great. So, the local scenes, everybody who's watching this is from a place. And a lot of times places have some really, really great local scenes. Like Larnell was like hipping me and everybody to some of the local cats in Toronto that I didn't know, And so I wrote down a bunch of names, and now we got some more names here. That's how it goes, man. The knowledge keeps cycling around. It's great.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I didn't realize, and I later on I found out that Vinny was from Pittsburgh, and I was like, that makes sense. And who else? Jeff Tane Watts, you know what I'm saying? Yep. Is a good friend of mine. He's from Pittsburgh.
Too.
Yeah. So it's very cool to get embraced, by people that's from there and the locals. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of great music, man. It's like come out like it's amazing how some cities just produce incredible musicians. Like it's just I don't know, something in the water, or is it something like I don't know, air? I don't know. It's just something. It's like I don't know. It's like these great musicians like come out of like these pockets and stuff. I don't get it, But so now let me ask you. Don't forget, and everybody who's watching, please look at the question cards at the bottom. If you have a question for Daru, please use the question cards. We're going to get those up to him in a minute. And I've already peeked at a couple of the questions that are coming up. And of course, they're all going to be not a surprise at all. They're going to be for you. Questions on about finding your voice. Now, before we do that, though, I want to get out of college. And what was your first big gig? What was the first one where you felt like I'm being seen?
I remember joining a group called Slum Village, and Slum Village is from Detroit. And have you heard of a producer named Jay Dilla, JD? Jay Dilla?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Dilla's group. You know what I'm saying? That was his, the group that he was in. And I remember getting the opportunity to work with Slum Village. Dilla passed away in 2006 he had lupus. And he died like either the day before his birthday or after. And this was in 2006. Unfortunate. Wow. Jay Dilla, as y'all know, he, was a producer known for his stutter, broken production, you know what I'm saying, the way that he would
pioneering that. Yeah.
Yeah, pioneering that. So I had an opportunity when I lived in Pittsburgh. There's a group that came from DC to play at one of the venues called the Shadow Lounge, which was a huge staple at the time in Pittsburgh. Like it was where they had open mic and all of the soul and urban, even all other genres they would perform in this venue. And I became, the drummer, where people was like, yo, call Daru because he can learn your material. And I had built this reputation. I got the call because this person, their drummer, backed out at the last minute. I had no idea that he was the music director for Slum Village. And Slum, after Dilla passed in 2006, they wanted to, turn a new chapter in their career and do a live band thing. And I got the recommendation, and they brought me on. I came on as Slum Village drummer at the end of 2006. We did a show in Detroit at the Blind Pig at the end of 2006, and then we played Essence Fest in 2007. And that was a really huge gig because I was able to, play music that I was a fan of. All those Dilla tracks from Fantastic. So that was a really big
so
gig.
that's like 2006, 2007.
Yep, exactly.
And that was like, that's where you felt like, okay, I'm here.
Yeah, I had some bigger gigs that I played before. When I remember one of the percussion ensembles that I played in, we did a tour in Paris, France, right after 9/11. which was bugged
Whoa.
out because I never forget when we went to Paris and we got off. They had them long nose guns, and they had to check all our cases. You know what I'm saying? Because that was the time.
Let me ask you a question. This is a good question. Just me to you, really, Nick, right now.
Yeah.
9/11. So how many days after 9/11 was that? Because I was on a plane to Japan, like right when like right after 9/11 too. And I remember
Oh wow.
everything you're talking about. So like how
Oh
many? Like it was like days, right? It was like
yeah.
just
It
like
was
days.
days. It was like the
It was
following.
days.
It was the following month, and we almost couldn't go because if everything didn't line up with the
Carnet.
list,
Yeah,
we
the
couldn't get through.
carnet. Yeah,
So they had
that
they had
carnet. You have to have that carnet thing. Yeah,
yes, and they had to
and
count all.
everything had to be down to the lug nut, right?
Yes. Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, I'll never forget that. And the guns were everywhere. I mean, I'll never forget that. It's so funny that you flew at the same time. Man, I was like, yeah, it was mine was on to Japan. Yours was to France, I think you
Yeah,
said.
Paris, France. Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
And it's like, and the amount of firepower. I've still never seen anything like it. You know, just like man, the airport was like full on military. You know,
Yes.
and it was like everybody was freaked out. You know,
Yes.
everybody was freaked out. You know,
Yeah.
and my tech, because he, you know, I mean, he's like the most nonviolent. He's just a cat, you know, guy. You know, it was like he's walking. He had a pocket knife, you know, in his pocket, and like the world came to an end, you know, because they found,
Really?
yeah, they said there's no way he's gonna fly. He's on a list. He's that thing, and they didn't let him go. Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
unbelievable. Yeah, it was heavy, man. It was
That was crazy times. But yeah,
yeah.
that was a huge opportunity because we actually played in Normandy Beach.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Right on the beach at a
Wow.
church where they still had the parachute on the church. So that
Get
was
out. Wow.
it was so crazy. And you could feel the energy. You could still feel
Yeah,
that
yeah,
energy
yeah,
there
yeah.
from that war. And that was a
Right,
huge gig for me and
right.
one of a big opportunity. Just to
And nine
fast
eleven just happened too, so it was
just
all.
happened.
I mean, the whole world was just, you know, like forget about it, man. That's a
Yeah.
wow. That's a great story, man. That's like so happening. So listen,
Yeah.
okay. So
Slum
hang on a
Village.
second. I'm going to the questions here because
Okay.
I don't want to do the ones that I know. Okay, now. What year was Jack White with you? When I mean you were with Jack White. What year was your playing with Jack White?
Okay. So I did the session in 2011
11.
and then the tour started in 2012.
Okay, beautiful.
That was
Okay, so we got to.
blunderbuss tour.
Okay, now I'm gonna pull up a question, Daru.
Mhm.
Let me know if you can see that.
Okay.
Can you see
How
it?
much freedom does
All right.
Jack White
So now,
give you?
Daru, do me a favor. On the
Mhm. Mhm.
replay, we won't be able to see that question. So if you could read it out loud and
Yes.
then answer it, that'd be great.
Okay. Cool. The question is, how much freedom does Jack White give you in constructing parts for his music? That's a really good question.
I think that's a great question. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, um, I want to try to shorten this story, but I remember the original opportunity when I got to work with Jack White. It was from me working with Black Milk. We did the performance at Third Man Records. Jack got excited. His company Third Man Records, they contacted me about coming back to Nashville to do a session with RZA. He was collaborating with RZA from Wu-Tang Clan, and I was excited. They flew me down to Nashville. We got to the session, and RZA canceled. RZA canceled. And I was heartbroken because RZA is one of my favorite producers. Anyway, to make a long story short, Jack felt bad and he wanted to send me back to New York. He was like, "Well, I got some solo songs I've been working on. Maybe we could try that out." And from what I was told, that's what started Jack White's solo career.
Get
So
out of here. Wow.
it turned out being a blessing. So for 2 days, I tracked with Jack White. We recorded 4 tracks, right? And when we recorded, Jack is a drummer. So there's already pressure there because I'm like, he knows what's good. So I was like, yo,
That
but
makes it so much worse.
yeah, but the thing, what I like about Jack hired me because he wanted me to bring what I was already doing to the table to his music. So when we cut for those 2 days, I was allowed freedom to do what I was already doing. You know what I'm saying? We cut 2 tracks one day and 2 tracks the other day, and yeah, a lot of the stuff that I did with Jack, it was just us jamming. But for I think the first day he had Pacific tunes that he had, but there was no drums. So he basically allowed me to come in and write, have my input and write, those parts. And yeah, I'm thankful to Jack because I've worked with other drummers, and I've had I remember a couple sessions where I had to not fight with the producer because he's a drummer. Because I'm like, dude, he had these demo drums, right? You know, you done those sessions where they had demo drums, but it's
No,
like,
yeah.
yo, don't cut my arms off. If you're gonna do that, just use a drum machine or get somebody else.
It's like when they get tied to the demo and they're like married to the demo because they've
Yeah.
only heard the demo. They know that. Then when you do something else besides the demo, they act like you just like, you know, stabbed the song in the face. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, it's like, yeah. So, and also like, I'm glad to hear that Jack was like that, because why would anyone hire a cat like you and not
Man.
let you be you? You know, like, I mean, your voice is so, I mean, shit, man, I could see myself being a producer and hire you and just
Appreciate it.
stand back and just like let it flow out. I mean, you know, so I'm really glad to hear
Appreciate
that
it.
Jack was letting you do that, man.
Yeah,
It's really,
yeah,
really cool.
yeah. And it's no disrespect to the other producers because I understand that it's like when you go to work. Not if you're not a drummer, if you're a doctor, you have, you know, your certain, you know, guidelines, and that's you know, that's what you sign up for. So we sign
Yeah.
up to be drummers, so we have to be flexible, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I think it's just a thin line to be flexible, and also when people are trying to, you know, cut your arms off. But anyway, you know, Jack
You know,
was,
can I ask you a question? Because I know
yes.
I know this has been asked of me. I'm sure, and you were a guy who has so much experience. I'd love to hear your answer to this.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a studio and you do feel like your arms are getting cut off and you're being suffocated, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody's trying to micromanage you, I
Mm-hmm.
can already tell. First of all, number one, it's so obvious. You are such a great, like, you have such great relationships in this
Appreciate
business.
it. Appreciate it.
You understand. I want you to talk about this later too. We're going to stick a pin in this and come back to it. But you know, you're
Mm-hmm.
just talking about relationships. But you know, and producers, say you're in the studio
Mm-hmm.
and you are just like being forced to make, or being asked to make
Mm-hmm.
creative decisions that you completely are not cool with.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle those situations?
Okay, so you know, when you're younger, you do childish things, but when you grow older, you mature. You know what I'm saying? You know how to be better. So at one point in time, you know, there was this little huffiness, but you know what I'm saying? After, you know, you get side-eyed a couple of times, and you know, you don't want to lose no opportunities. But it took me a while. It took me a while, and I want to stick to the question. It took me a while to build up what I have today, and I just think it's a respectful way to do it. I just would try to at least meet them halfway. All right? Because it's like when people be like, yo, do the Tony thing. I'm like, Tony is not here. You know what I'm saying? like, yo, that's been done already. You know what I'm saying? Or do the Tommy Igo thing.
No,
Call
the
Tommy.
Tony thing. Stick with the Tony thing. It's like
call my mans. You know what I'm saying? If you want, but you know
no,
what I'm
it's
saying.
just like that's great. Like, do that thing. That's, well, I'm here. You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
So I think
you're like, yeah, you're
but
Daru Jones, man.
Well, I do understand that, you know, when people, because I'm a producer as well, sometimes we all get inspiration for other artists. So they be like, yo, they may make a track that's like an Al Green record and they want that vibe. So I'm like, all right, cool. So a good example to meet them halfway. Okay, I'll give you that, but I'm going to try to make my own version of it. That way it's not a carbon copy, because that's the thing, you know, as a producer, you know, and the stuff that I enjoy, like the Phil Collins records and everything that's like a big hit, Zeppelin, all those feels, as simple as they are, they make the records.
They make the records, absolutely.
That's my mind. That's my mindset. I want to make records like that. 10 years from now, people are like, "Yo, that Phil, that Daru is the simplest thing, but it made the record."
So
I'm like, that's what I'm trying to do. That's my mindset. I want to, I want to respect the producer and do that Al Green thing, but I'm going to do my own version of it. So that's how I would you know.
Well,
in
I have to.
in a situation.
I don't want. I don't mean to make you uncomfortable, but that's another reason why I'm such a huge fan of you. Is that, you know, you play that way. You play for keeps, as I like to say. You play for the touchdown. You don't play for the field goal. You play for the touchdown. You know, and you know that hearing you say those things about, you know, like Zeppelin or whoever, you know, think of signature Phils. You know, mentioning Phil Collins, Phil Collins is just like the master of the signature Phil, like, you know, and like, you know, those things you can sing them, you can play them, you can air drum them, and most importantly, people who have absolutely no drumming experience at all air drum them. Civilians drum them, you know, so it's like and that's always how you seem to me. You play with such a depth of authenticity. So these stories are just really, really gold. And I hope everybody's hearing them. And thank you for answering how to handle the producer who's kind of cutting your wings off. You just really, really gave a great knowledge
Yeah,
drop on
because
that.
thank you. It's a thin line because I know how the climate is nowadays. There's a lot of, and I don't even want to get into the politics, but there's a lot of things that's not fair. Even in the music business, and they ain't even got to the music business yet, but
we're getting there. We're halfway done, and we're about to go there now.
That's going to be a sad day for some of these people that didn't do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't even want to go into that. Once that time comes, I'm sure you got your stories. We all have our stories, but
we all got
it's a lot of things that's not cool. It's not cool, but as us drummers, you don't want to get a bad reputation because that's all you have is your reputation.
Mm-hmm. All you got.
If you go on in the studio, you go in with your guns and you're not handling it and you're yelling, nobody's going to want to hire you because people want to start being like, yo, they're going to remember how you handled yourself. So drummers, there's a way, even if you're upset, there's still a way, and voting is a way to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
Just to go political,
yeah.
If you don't know how to protest properly, vote. You know what I'm saying? It's a proper way to do stuff. And same thing in the drumming when you work in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to management. You know what I'm saying? It's just a proper way to do it. You ain't got to be all rude.
You're dropping like you're dropping like stuff we have to write in the Stones, like that kind of like heavy set. So like that's how heavy that is. The right way. It's look, let's start to go towards that. Let's start to make that right turn towards the music business now.
Mm-hmm.
And you are a force. You have,
Man.
and it's all. Listen, my thing is always telling young people entering this business, everything's about relationships. Everything.
Yes, totally.
You just said all you have is your reputation. That's all you have, and you put those things together, relationships and reputation. And I think of you, okay? So now, when you started going, man, it's like one of the other first things I thought of with you was when I saw the DW kit that they said, the Daru Jones New York kit, right?
Yes,
yeah.
PvP.
So listen, there's a lot of people, because people talk about endorsements, but that's a partnership. Talk to me about that.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm thankful. You know what I'm saying? It's been a dream, and I don't know, just being at the right place at the right time. You know what I'm saying? There's politics, of course. You know what I'm saying? All the companies. They're battling each other. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So that's why you see, I think with all companies, you're going to find some good stuff. So people, they like to get into, this company's better than that company.
Sure.
But I'm sure if you find the top line or the top series, it's going to be good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I just say, find the company that you want, that resonate with you, and rock with it. But to get that relationship with DW is like what you said, was a relationship. You know what I'm saying, that I was able to build with my brother, Scott Donnell. He works at DW.
Yes, I do. Scott. I know Scott well. I know
Scott and Garrison and Jules, the whole team. I remember before that, I was playing with a company I won't mention. And I love the company, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it worked well for my career at the time when I was playing hip-hop gigs. You know what I'm saying? Everything that I had during that time worked great for me. But when I graduated rock and roll, I always knew that DW to me was the Roy's voice of drums. You know what I'm saying? There was some things that I didn't like about DW drums, like the hardware back in the days but they've gotten a lot better. But I've always considered, once I got put onto DW, like they were like, to me, that was one of the best companies, and I wanted to upgrade. I saw all my heroes, that was out there, what I'm saying, that used DW, and I was like, that's the lane. So I had a good friend of mine that used to be a CEO of this company called Mono Creators. They make the bags. Have you heard of Mono?
Sure. Yep.
They used to be called Mono Case, but they had a name change to Mono Creators. And good friend of mine, Daniel, I had been with Mono Creators for 10 years. I've been with them since they first started. You know what I'm saying? So I was one of the poster childs, promoting their company. And just having that relationship with him, I remember when I was making a transition working with Jack, and I got the opportunity. I originally was trying to get on with Gretsch. Funny story. funny,
listen, everything happens for a reason, man. Things happen for a reason.
Yeah, yo. And you know what's crazy? And it's man, everybody's so touchy. I want to keep it 100% because you know what it is. I remember going to PASIC and all these or the NAMM shows trying to get on as a young kid.
Sure.
And like at the time I would have like my press kit, you know what I'm saying, with like, trying to get on, giving my package to Marco Saconia and all these people that work for the companies,
all the cats, right,
trying to get on, and they looking at me like, yo, you got to pay your dues, you know what I'm saying? But to fast forward the story, I never forget when I was trying to get my drum endorsements, even with the company I was playing with, they a lot of them, I feel like they look down on hip hop drum, you know, as far as like considering from my experience, considering that not like rock and roll or the more popular. So I was like, yo, I'm playing with some of the top artists. I can't get an endorsement. You know what I'm saying? I was playing with like some of the top people, but it took a while. Fast forward, I remember Gretsch had made Jack. They made the kits for both bands because on the first tour we had the all-female band, which Carla Azar, shout out to Carla Azar. She played in the all-girl band, and I played with the all-guy band. And I think Jack, somebody from their team had a relationship with Gretsch, so Gretsch designed our first kits. Right? Okay. And I was trying to get an endorsement with Gretsch, but I didn't. I guess I didn't need to. Funny story though. Yeah. Crazy thing is now DW owns Gretsch.
Is that crazy?
Yeah. Isn't that's so crazy?
That's some crazy shit. I know.
Yo,
like, crazy. You know. So now it's like but the most people have relationships. You know, with people who have endorsements have relationships with them. But you have a partnership with DW where they're putting out a product under your name. That's a big leap.
Sorry, I got off the question.
No. That's great. That story was gold. Stop. So if if we're talking about like how did the New York kit come about? Like,
that's a good question. So the New York kit came about basically having my relationship with Scott Donnell, because that's what I'm about. When I'm working with all these companies, I want to know who's the CEO. You know what I'm saying? I want to build a relationship with them. A lot of times when I would see them, I wasn't all about, yo, give me some sticks or give me some endorsement. I just want them to remember my face because they see 1,000+ faces that everybody's looking for endorsements. But I built a relationship with Forrest from my friend that worked for Mono Creators, Daniel. He did an email introduction from me to Scott Donnell, and he was like, yo, I got a good friend. His career is taking off. He's playing with Jack White, and I think that Daru will be a great candidate. I built a relationship with Scott. Scott saw what I was doing. And the crazy thing was, Scott said, I'm going to design a kit for that tour.
Oh.
He didn't even send me pictures of the kit. He was like, I'm going to surprise you.
Yep.
So I remember getting the kit like maybe a few months later in 2012, and I could not believe it. I just sent him the color scheme of the blue, said Jack, and I couldn't believe it. And that was the start of my relationship with Scott. We stayed in touch every time I saw him, and I would always send him my updates on when I was going out touring. So I just built just that regular cool friendship. And then when they had promos and things that they were doing in DW, they had revamped the 9,000 pedals. So I got invited to be a part of that campaign. I did the shoot with the homie Gerald Haywood. Shout out to brother Gerald Haywood. So
I love Gerald.
And my big brother Sean Pelton. I love Pelton. Really good friend of mine.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, so just building. And then this crazy thing, I had this idea with DW when I first came on board, because the company that I played before, they had a compact kit. And I was trying to do the same thing with them. I asked them about doing like a signature, but they wouldn't, I understand, I had to pay my dues.
So you said you said to DW, I have this idea, and DW bit. They were like, okay.
Yeah, because at the time, like I said, the other competitors, I don't even want to mention companies, it's a kid out there that was doing really well in the market. And it just was good timing. And they, all the companies, they battled each other, so they want to have something to go against that company. So it all worked out. It didn't happen when I wanted it to happen. But basically before that, I had GW design me a compact kit with small sizes that I use. And I was like, yo, check this out. I'm using this at the Blue Note. I'm using this at Rock the Bells, and it's a huge sound. Can we do this? And then I remember I get an email from Scott. Scott was like, yo, I think we may be able to do this kit now. And they had already had the New Yorker. It's already been a kit through the PDP line. You know what I'm saying? But I think what made mine different was the sizes. If I'm not mistaken, the sizes and the color. Because I wanted to do something to have a little swag. So it was all, you know, me and Scott, we worked together on a concept.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And I'm thankful.
It's not, you know, it's such a unique offering in the world, in the drum world. I just, you know, wanted to congratulate you and hear that story because
thank you.
It's a great story. It's just wonderful. And I've always wanted to hear you talk about it. So I'm really glad that I got to hear that story as well. So I'm going to go to the questions. Now, listen, we're going to go, we're going to do this question, and it's going to go down, we're going to go down this road. And this is really what a lot of people want to talk about. Okay. But, actually, no, I have one other one that I want to ask. This is more of a general question that somebody's got for you here, Daru. Take a look at that one. Read that one out loud for us.
Okay, Daru, do you have any advice to help combat stage nervousness? Woo!
Yeah, that's a really common question that all the guys get asked. I'm really glad you got asked that, you know, because I want to hear your opinions on that. It's a really common problem.
Yeah, that's a really good question because although I'm a Leo, I'm a shy guy. So I'm still a shy guy. I think my Leo comes out when I'm on stage. That's when I turn into that lion. You know what I'm saying? But I was shy.
You're a force all the time.
Man, thank you. It took me a while to build that confidence, but I remember being shy. Like I used to play with my head down. You know what I'm saying? And yeah,
interesting.
I used to play with my head down because I mean, although you know I would mimic and try to emulate Dana Davis and everybody that was out at the time, I was still shy. But the more that I started playing on bigger platforms, that helped boost my esteem. And what happened, I remember playing at the stage play when I was 14. It's a gospel stage play, and Vanessa Bell Armstrong was the guest vocalist, and she's like a legendary gospel singer. I never forget. They had the band. You couldn't see the band. They had the actors on stage. The band was in the pit. But I never forget, at the end of the show, they brought everybody up to take a bow, and they brought the band up and they gave everybody their praises. And after that event, people were coming up to me like, "Man, you did an amazing job." And I was 14. And a funny story, I actually met Chris Coleman the same day. I never forget. He was a little younger than me, and it was in Saginaw, Michigan. And I remember people telling me like, "Yo, there's this young kid, Chris Coleman. He's gonna be the next dude." I mean, we were young. I grew up with Chris Coleman.
Wow. Yeah. It's so cool, man.
Yeah. So I remember, and Chris got on the drums on my drum set and went ham. And he was young, but I remember the compliments that people were saying that gave me the confidence, like, oh man, maybe I can do this. And then I started getting bigger opportunities. But I say the more that you play in front of people will get you out of that shyness. You know what I'm saying? That's what helped.
Right.
The more you do, get out the house. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And also expand your community. If you're used to just hanging with this group of people, expand. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you're used to playing rock and roll.
Go like this. Go like this.
Yeah.
Go like this. Yeah.
It's just as basic as being a human. If you want to grow and be a diverse human, you go around different. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of us, that's what we need because we don't. When we get in these situations, we don't know how to, you know what I'm saying, deal with it because we're 100%. Not used.
People, they only just like that. You know, it's all I know. It's like this, you know. The world's a big place, you know, and it's got a lot. And the more you experience, the more your music grows. You know, you can hear your life in your drumming. You can hear it. You can hear your point of view. You know, you can hear it. You know, it's authentic. It's what it is. And the more you go out and experience life, that informs your music. Everything, you know.
I want to add this too, because I know there's a lot of self-esteem and mental health things. If you're surrounded by people, and I had to deal with this too coming up. I feel like I was a head thinker, but I got criticized. I got criticized, and that affected my esteem because I had all these big ideas, but the people that I was around, they didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand it. So I was a weirdo. I was a
Mm-hmm.
weirdo because I was listening to the jazz and I was just trying to, and I would say, find the love, find your community. You know what I'm saying? If you're
Yeah.
around people that's, beating you down or they're bullying you, go where the love is at.
Boom! That's it. That's so great.
So,
That's it right there. That's
yeah,
it. Musicians in general, if they're not around like people who appreciate them, they can be the weird kid. They can be the weird one. We're a lot of times we're not like, if you grow up in a school that only loves sports and you're a band kid, you're like looked at like you're weird, or
yes,
something like that. Don't
yes.
settle.
Don't settle.
Don't settle.
Because
Find your tribe.
this is a globe. So
Yeah.
people in your city, now we got the internet, you can find your tribe, community.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
find your
saying?
tribe, man.
Find your tribe.
Exactly, 100%. And the internet, is one of the good things about it, is that you can find your tribe. You can find other young people who love what you love, and you will be validated, and you will feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that is a beautiful thing. Now, listen, we got 10 minutes left, so hang on.
Yeah.
All right. Now, listen, let's get to the part that is where you are going to be able to speak to this more than anybody I could possibly think of. I have a couple of questions of my own, but we're going to get it going.
Thanks,
from the next card right here. And here it is. Boom.
I want to thank everybody for the check-in too. I'm seeing some of my friends chiming in, Terry, and thank you guys. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry for getting long-winded, but maybe we
No,
can do a part two.
Are you kidding? You're
dropping
so much knowledge. It's ridiculous. Stop it.
Okay, so how can I find my own voice on the drums?
Now, that's what everybody wants to talk to you about, because you have the most signature thing going on, I think, in our industry. And it's such a beautiful, that's why I just totally just geek out on you. So all right, Daru, how do we do it?
All right, make a long story short, go to Drumeo. I did a live session called How to Find Your Own Identity.
Yep.
And hopefully Drumeo will start promoting that soon. I haven't seen any promotions.
Well,
on Drumeo's
on. I saw it on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
I saw it on YouTube. I saw part of it on YouTube. It's definitely there. And I always like to try to talk to people on these interviews like they haven't seen maybe that, but that could be there,
Yeah, and, I'm just, that was a joke too, but it was real. But yeah,
it is there. I saw it. Yeah.
To answer that question, you are what you eat. That's just you. So what I ate as a youth is what I seeing Vinny and everybody who inspired me. You know what I'm saying? I just took a page. My drumming and my style is a piece of all of them. All of my influences with my own identity, you know what I'm saying, included. You know what I'm saying? I don't never want to try to say that what I'm doing, although I think I'm finally getting, somewhere where like my sound, I think my setup is what make my identity. And basically,
I got to tell you, you can play as Buddy Rich used to say, you should be able to play on the boxes they came in. And if you played on the boxes they came in, I'd be able to tell your pocket. It is
my God, I appreciate it.
No.
Yeah,
so the setup is great, but you are you.
Thank you. Yeah. So basically, it's like what I saw. I wanted to be, a voice like Wecco, all those drummers, Omar, they all was their own identity. And nowadays, you have a lot of drummers, they're good, but everything kind of sounds alike, and nobody's really, because I remember coming up, like when I would go to the drum stores, although they had a signature stick or by one of my favorite drummers, I tried all the signature sticks and I found out what worked with my body type. That's what I recommend. You know what I'm saying? Like people ain't doing that nowadays. They just see a drummer playing one thing and they just go get what they use. But try all of the signature stick. The same with the drum heads. Try all the different drum heads, see what works, and just try to experiment. You know what I'm saying? I just think that we need to get back to that, because otherwise, and I understand this is not going to be the lane for everybody. Some people, they want to be, they want to just be the machine. That's fine. Right. Yeah. That's not what I want to be. You know what I'm saying? I want it to be like Steve Gadd. You can put him in any genre situation, like yourself. Put you in any genre situation, you get the job done. You don't overplay. You play the necessary things, and that's what I wanted to do and I feel like that's my mission. And yeah, and I think what makes my sound is my influences from the hip hop world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because I'm
absolutely, 100%. They can hear it. You
basically,
can hear it. You can hear it in your drumming. You know?
thank you. So basically, you are what you eat. I listen to a lot of hip hop, so it comes out in my playing, and I'm a producer, and I really feel like that
That
helps.
comes out in your playing too, Daru.
Thank
That
you.
you play with a level. Listen, guys like you, Gad, all the cats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always seems to me like you're playing as if you're above yourself looking down. Like you're like you have a bird's eye view. So you're not playing from here looking up at hitting things. You're above looking down and you're getting the big picture. That's what your drumming has always sounded to me like that.
Well, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate that. It's a mutual respect, brother. Mutual respect. You play with the New York Voices.
Back in the day, man.
Yo, like, that's why I first saw you. I saw you on this.
That was like VHS.
So I was like, yo, this cat, I saw that. I was on Tails like, this cat is dope. And I started getting more about you, you know, and I was like, this cat. But anyway, yeah, so it's just the basics of having a conversation. That's the whole thing when you're playing improvising jazz, call and response. So when you're in these sessions, it's about listening to your environment. There's 1,000 things that you can do, but it's only a few that's going to work and really impact. So that's pretty much my you know, my approach is listening to the environment and seeing how I can enhance as a team player. You know what I'm saying?
Team player. It's just like, you know, you're saying so much amazing stuff, man. It's just like, all right, let's get one more question, and we got like literally only a few minutes left before the Instagram cuts us off. So we take this one here. How about this one, Daru? Check that one out.
Okay. Who would you love to work with in the future? Wish list. Love you both. Oh, thanks for the love. That's a good question.
Yeah, that was some Larry Aberman from Vegas, I think. So yeah, so he's a great he's a monster too.
Really?
So yeah, that's a great question. Who is on your wish list?
Okay, Sting. I love the Police.
Interesting.
I love the Police.
Okay.
Chick Corea.
Okay.
Dave Grusin. Is he still?
I don't know if he's. I'm not too sure actually. I don't know if he's. Is he? I don't think he's passed. Did he? God, I played with Dave. I played with Dave Grusin.
Beyonce, Jay-Z, of course. Stevie Wonder. Shout out to my big brother, Stanton. Stanley does an amazing job with Stevie. I would love to work with Stevie. Who else? Shaka Khan. Man.
That's enough, man. That's like don't hurt yourself. That's a great list. D'Angelo, which I almost had the opportunity to tour with him. Oh man, I could totally see that.
Man, that's a long story. Shout out to Pino Palladino. Who else? Vinny Colaiuta.
Okay, I think we're gonna probably. I want to hear you talk about one more thing that somebody asked, and it's you have something that you and I first started chatting. One of the things I said is I was like, my God, I just can't get enough of your what I called, and I think that I made this up, and I'm going to stick by that. I call it your Groove Vortex Blender. Okay? You take Groove Vortex Blender, right? And you take your pocket and you push it and you pull it and you stretch it and but it's there, but it's this. And a lot of people want to know, like, how do they start to even begin to do something like that? Who should they listen to, and where do they go? Like, how did you start to do that?
That's a very good question. So I'm going to try to be short with this. I remember when I first got hip to jazz and I got hip to, like, Elvin Jones and Tony, that swing stuff went over my head. It was just so advanced. But it wasn't until later on, as a later teenager, I understood what they were doing. They were doing the same thing. They were bending, phrasing, you know what I'm saying? It was still in time, you know, but they were all over the all over the all over the meter. So it's the same thing. It's just a similar concept.
You make it sound like it's and again, you know, like I've seen Tony, and I saw Tony live and in many clinics, and I saw and like you and like Gad and when everybody who has a signature thing, but they do what you just did, and you're like, yeah, I don't know, just did a thing. And it's just like you're like this, and then you're like,
well, you
So
know,
it's like it is a hard question to answer, and I totally understand. Is that there's a
yeah,
lot of cats. There was a bunch of people who were asking questions before we started, and they were all kind of thinking along those same lines of like how do you begin to break a groove that
yeah,
doesn't break
yeah,
but stretches.
yeah. One more person to add, Bob James. I want to work with Bob James.
Oh, chilling. All right, that's
Oh
cool.
yeah, so to answer that question, so yeah, basically you are what you eat. A lot of the hip hop producers that I was listening to, RZA was one of the first people I also heard doing a broken um production, but that's because he didn't know how to use the equipment. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the producers back then, they bought the equipment, but they didn't read the manuals, which when you said the Wu-Tang Clan stuff is very glitchy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
Dilla did it on purpose because Dilla, he listened to like Bernard Purdy
Hmm.
and a lot of times stuff was not perfect. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So he
and
wanted to
that's the
implement,
best part of it. That's the best part. It's the human.
yeah, the human. So basically that's what Dilla did. He implemented producing his drum patterns not quantized. As producers, you know, when you compose the music, you have the option to quantize it, where if you make a mistake, the computer will fix it, or if you unquantize it, the mistake is there. So Dilla wanted to have that live feel, and I listened to a lot of the productions from him,
Hmm.
RZA, and
Hmm.
that's what really. But I'm not a nerd. I'm not the guy that will go and like he's playing behind the beat. I'm not that dude. I'm really about listening and
Man,
figuring
well,
out. So
it's
that's
just it's magical to hear. Now we have 25 seconds left, and I want to make sure that you get the closing thing. Say whatever you want to say to
okay.
everybody, and thank you from me to you. I love you.
Love you too, Tommy. Thanks for having me on the show. Go vote. Justice for George Floyd, which I think they're coming. They're coming. All lives matters. Black lives matters. But you know what's happening today, so you know what we're doing. Show love to your brother and your sister. Daru Jones, we out.